The Monkey's Paw by W. Jacobs. Be careful what you wish for. You may receive it. Outside the night was cold and wet, but in the small parlor of Laburnum Villa, the blinds were drawn and the fire burned brightly. Father and son were playing chess. The father, who possessed ideas about the game involving radical chances, putting his king into such sharp and unnecessary perils that it even provoked comment from the white-haired old lady knitting by the fire. "Listen to that wind," said Mr. White, who, having seen a fatal mistake after it was too late, was amiably desirous of preventing his son from seeing it. "I am listening," said his son, grimly surveying the board as he stretched out his hand. "Check. I should hardly think that he'll come tonight," said his father, with his hand poised over the board. "Mate," replied the son. "That's the worst of living so far out," bawled Mr. White with sudden and unlooked-for violence. "Of all the beastly, slushy, out-of-the-way places to live in, this is the worst. The roads are all slushy, washed out, and everything's a torrent. I don't know what people are thinking about. I suppose because only 2 houses in the road, and they think it doesn't matter." "Never mind, dear," said his wife soothingly. "Perhaps you'll win the next one." Mr. White looked up sharply, just in time to intercept a knowing glance between mother and son. The words died away on his lips, and he had a guilty grin in his thin gray beard. "There he is," said Herbert White, as the gate banged loudly and heavy footsteps came towards the door. The old man rose with hospitable haste and opened the door, and he was heard welcoming the new arrival. Mr. White was followed into the room by a tall, robust, beady-eyed man. "Sergeant Major Morris," Herbert White introduced him. Sergeant Major Morris entered the living room, shook hands, and took a seat in front of the fire. His host filled a tumbler with whiskey. Sergeant Major sipped his tumbler of whiskey while he stared into the fire and watched a copper kettle being hung over the fire. By the third glass of whiskey, his eyes got brighter and the family gathered around him, eager to hear the stories he was about to tell. As he squared his broad shoulders in the chair and spoke of wild scenes and deeds of wars and plagues and strange peoples. 21 years of it," said Mr. White, nodding at his wife and son. "When he went away, he was a slip of a youth in the warehouse. Now look at him." "He don't look to have taken much harm," said Mrs. White politely. "I'd like to go to India myself," said the old man, "just to look around a bit, you know." "Better where you are," said the sergeant major, shaking his head. He put down the empty glass and, sighing softly, shook it again. "I should like to see those old temples, and the snake charmers, and the jugglers," said the old man. "What was that you started to tell me the other day? About a monkey's paw or something, Morris?" To hear part 2 of The Monkey's Paw, please watch the next video.